Hello everyone, welcome to another Hair Tied Back edition of Music of the Week. We have 6 albums to go through as always, so let's go through them. We begin with the Beths and their new album Straight Line Was a Lie. Now, I have covered this band before technically, but I didn't give them a full review. I did have to double check this. Their last album in 2022, which I think was called Expert in a Dying Field. I reviewed that as like a catch-up, but not like a full proper review. And I enjoyed that one. I think it was a good way to ease me into their sound. I'm giving this one an A plus though, pretty much entirely across the board. I really fucking enjoyed this one. Yeah, their fourth album. They're a band from New Zealand, and if people, as people sort of know, I like my bands from Australia. I also like bands from New Zealand. They're sort of a indie rock sort of vibe with mixes of power pop and pop punk. And honestly, I'll kick off with lyrics. I like the themes of mental health, dealing with the harsh realities of life, but there's a lightness to it that makes it kind of relatable. Like, yeah, I'm going through my problems, but you're going through your problems, so let's just try and talk the shit out. There's also some really good like LGBT themes. I think that's part of the point of the album's title. I can't really say for sure as I couldn't find too much there, but from what I could find on lyrics, I did enjoy. There's good work from the band as a whole as well. Yeah, not really any bad performances, but I will highlight frontwoman Elizabeth Stokes. She just has this really warm and charming performance, and she's got tons of charisma, and she's just a lot of real fun to listen to. Instrumentation is just brilliant as well. It's got some fun energy and really good guitar noodling. The guitar especially just feels nice. I think that's actually my main reason why I like this album so much. It's such a comforting album to listen to. You know, especially like after the turmoil of the past couple of weeks in the UK especially. I kind of needed this album to come out when it did because, like, it's just so warm and a nice getaway from the hardcore reality of the shit that's actually happening, so kind of appreciate it. I think that oddly comforting tone works its way into the production, which I also quite enjoy, and it's got really good layers to the sound, which makes the sound pop out quite a lot, but it's also got this really organic vibe to it that doesn't take away from anything. Pacing's also just really fucking great. Great setup, great build-ups, great overall flow, great payoff with a lovely core formula, and style mixes around it. Yeah, it's just like, it might sound a bit simplistic, maybe, but I really fucking like this one. I think it's the timing of the album of when it came out for me. And one of my hugest recommends. This is a very like positive episode, as most of them are, but I think this is a really strong start. As I say it here, it's just a good hug album. So if you need a hug album right now, I would recommend giving this a spin. Especially if you live in the UK and you're seeing all the shit happening, just like put this on and just forget about all the horrible shit that's happening. I highly recommend doing that. Next up, we have a debut, which are kind of getting more rare as the year continues to go on, but we have a hardcore punk band from Baltimore, Maryland, named End It, and their first album, Wrong Side of Heaven. I feel like Five Finger Death Punch might sue for gimmick infringement, but give this one a B minus. I think this album has a lot of potential to it. But I think it's a really consistently inconsistent album. I like the production. I think Brian McTernan is a really good producer, and he does a good job of making sense of the sound here. And I like the instrumentation all right enough. It's got this really heavy crossover thrash style of hardcore, which I like, and there's really good drumming and especially good guitar work. But it feels like a power metal album trapped in a thrash metal album's body. And this is apparent from the vocalist as well. Like, he's a really good screamer. He's got a really good scream to him, but like, when he actually goes for the full power metal belt, I think he's a lot better. And I think if this band just did full on power metal stuff, I'd be okay with it. If it genuinely feels like it's trying to avoid coming out as a power metal album to its parents. But like the rest of the album, I do wish the vocalist would kind of pick a lane that goes to the structure as well. I like it when it sticks to the thrashy punk stuff oddly, even as short as a lot of the songs can be, but it doesn't really vary itself in the best of ways, and it's got this weird mix that doesn't know what to do with all the elements it has. However, I did also quite enjoy the lyrics. I like these sort of political themes about fighting injustice, and yeah, some religious stuff, obviously given the title of the album. And there is solid enough stuff on it. There's a good style. The band practice what they preach, and it's got alright production, I suppose, but I don't know. It's just like, it feels like there was a lot of ideas that were thrown around that didn't need to be there, and it feels weirdly padded for an album. I think it's the shortest album of the past week, 22 minutes and 38 seconds with 15 songs, so that's not the best time management practice, but I don't know. I thought it had some good moments. I thought it had plenty of good moments, and this is still a debut. But they need to pick a lane and just sort of decide what they're doing. Next, we have The Hives with their new album, The Hives Forever, Forever the Hives. This is a punk band from Sweden. I almost said Switzerland for some reason, from Fagersta. And I'll give this one an A. I just really bloody enjoyed this one. It's nice to have a rock album that'll just give you a good time, first of all. Lyrics are bloody great. I like the main theme being about the ups and downs of being involved in rock and roll. It's a really oddly fun theme, and it's just, honestly, trying to have a simply uncomplicated good time. Sorry for my hair strand there. I didn't tie all of it back like I thought I did, but it's got really good stuff there. The instrumentation's bloody great as well. It's got more of a punk feel than the last album, and again, this is only my second album by these guys, but it's got a really solid rhythm section and great punch and grit to the guitars as well, which I quite like. Performance is fucking raw, and I will highlight Howlin' Per Pelle Almqvist's vocals. By the way, one of the producers for the album is also named Pelle, but his surname's Gunnerfelt, and the other producer is Mike D from Beastie Boys fame. And yeah, production's also pretty fucking great. It's got a really good feel to the mix, and it gives things a nice noted lack of polish that helps the sharper parts of the album stand out quite more. And yeah, Howlin' Pelle, Per, or whatever you want to call him, Howlin', sure, has tons of charisma as usual, and I'll always love the fact that nobody in this band looks like they should be in a band, but they're so really good at what they do that they do kind of belong in a band. Structure's great as well. It's got a really good song flow and there's a lot of energy. I do feel like it can blur maybe just a tad on some occasions and doesn't vary a lot from its core formula, but hey, it's really good at sticking to its one formula, and it is a little bit of a one-trick pony album at times, but it's a really fun trick, and this is just a really fun garage punk rocky sort of album. So if you just want something fun that feels more like rock than what I usually cover, I recommend giving this a go. Although if you're watching this and you're hearing me talk nice things about the Hives, you're probably a Hives fan anyway, so that'll probably help. Next we have a band making their debut, although for some reason when I first heard their name I didn't think it was a debut, and some lizard part of my brain still doesn't think it is, but it is. It's Toronto, Ontario, Canada, I'm presuming, sort of post-metalcore-ish band Low Heaven with their first album Ritual Decay. Great name, and a great thing to tie into. But I'm giving this one an A+ entirely across the board, almost for like the opposite reasons as to why I liked the Beth's new album so much. I will admit, and this is something that the band says themselves, it's not an easy listen, and I would put this up there as a good candidate of 2025's album that doesn't care about my personal safety. Let's go for the instrumentation. Fucking love it. There's really great guitar heaviness, and the band blend all these elements. It is, I guess, mostly post-metal at its core, but it's got metalcore elements, it's got post-hardcore elements, it's got mathcore elements as well, and it's a really unique genre mix of all these really heavy styles, but more than anything, and what helps the album stand out, it focuses on the emotion it evokes. It's not just like heavy for the sake of being heavy, or technical and like mixing all this stuff just for the sake of being that, but like, yeah, it makes you feel shit. The band are also incredible. They put absolutely everything into this album, and I'm not just going to highlight anyone because I think fucking everyone's brilliant. Whoever did the vocals, all great. I think there's 2 vocalists. There's several. I think there's like 3 guitarists and 1 bassist. There isn't a drummer, but there is drums used. So I can only assume that they got a session musician, and whoever they got as a session musician, could they be a permanent member of the band? Because they did a really bloody good job on the drums here. It's also like weirdly ugly in how human it feels, not just in terms of the band performances as well, but also the lyrics. There's a fucking incredible theme of slowly losing faith in things, especially with the slow collapse of things in a post sort of COVID world, and losing belief in the self and losing belief in others, but also the undercurrent of trying to accept the self as well in a weirdly twisted, beautiful, dark kind of way. Kind of love that. Production is great. Brett Romness has been on a fucking tear this year in terms of producing heavy music. He might be my personal pick for producer of the year, even though that's not an award I ever give out. But he's had a bloody great year on the albums I've listened to him work on. Really good texturing, a lot of organic feel to the sound. That adds a lot of scale and scope, which I think is massively impressive. It makes things feel like bottlenecks, but in like a really, really big round bottleneck that lets all these other things just fill in wonderfully. That's a terrible metaphor, but I think people understand what I mean, and I mean it as a good thing. Also, quite like the structure. Each song manages to stand out from itself. There's a great style mesh. It knows when to switch up moods to slow and moody, and the more gloomy stuff to the like heavy and more high intensity stuff. It's just guided along quite nicely with a great framework. Yeah, holy shit, pretty much liked everything about this album. Well, pretty much loved everything about this album. Both this and the Beth's new one could potentially be top 30 makers. I still need to really focus on rearranging that list and whatnot. But, yeah, hell of a debut. Up there with one of my favourite debuts of the year, 100%. Next up, we have a band who I thought was debuting. Turns out, no, it's only their second album. By their, I mean the band Pink Shift, and their second album titled Earthkeeper. These are a pop-punky sort of band from Baltimore, Maryland. I'm giving this one a B+, as I liked pretty much everything about this album. Except for the production. Holy shit, the production on this is weirdly bad. It's got polish, but it feels so overly processed and way too constrictive. Like, it's got a chokehold on the sound and on the band, and it doesn't let them, like, breathe a lot, which is weird. And it's double weird because, yeah, everything else about this album kind of rules. The band are really fun to listen to, and front person, because they then pronouns gotta respect it, Ashri Takuma, I think I'm saying that correctly, is just a joy to listen to. They've got a lot of, like, personality and charisma, and yeah, they know what they're doing, and they lead the band quite well. It's good stuff. Really good lyrical themes dealing with political stuff about environmentalism, social anxiety, societal anxiety as well, and also quilt-bag themes, that is the term I use instead of LGBT, and also it just sounds more fun to say and is easier to say. I also quite like the structuring. It's got a lot of tricks up its sleeves, and yeah, it can repeat at times, but the tricks it does have are worked in quite well in the mixture, and there's more, like, grunge and hardcore elements, and by the way, yeah, the instrumentation, which I didn't bring up much in, like, earlier, but works in grunge and hardcore, but this is a pop-punk sort of alt-rock band, I guess you could say. Sort of in the stain of Stand Atlantic, I guess you could say. But there's also, yeah, really good riffs with a lot of energy, and the drumming carries it quite a bit. Again, like every other aspect of this album, except for the production. I feel like it's just way too constrictive and needed to be held back a lot, and I couldn't even find who produced it. I don't bloody know. I hope it wasn't the band. It wasn't them on their debut, and they're on Hopeless, which is a good record label, but I think maybe a switch to Pure Noise or Epitaph or Loma Vista, or a label that would let them breathe. I do feel like they might have the Stand Atlantic problem of maybe not being able to make things click fully, and until later on, because Stand Atlantic's last album ruled, but it did take them a while to get there. I think the same thing might happen to Pink Shift, but I hope that, like, at the very least they get a different producer next time, because bloody Nora. And finally, we have a band making their long-awaited return. This is Woe Is Me with their new album Daybreaker, band who for some reason I thought were from Australia. They're not, they're from Atlanta, Georgia. A metalcore band from there specifically. I'm giving this one a B+. I quite enjoyed this one, I will say. I think it's got a really good layering to the instrumentation. It's mixed well enough with the like melodic stuff and the heavy stuff. It's got a good poppy vibe, which I think is some trappings from older electronic stuff. I didn't listen to them before this one, so I don't know how much of it is like the electronic leanings that they've had before, and if they stuck around. I think it's still a current mix that they use. I'm not entirely sure there. I also quite enjoyed the performances, really good cohesion from everyone, but I will highlight drummer Matthew White, who, fun fact, this is his first album with the band, because the drummer that they had before they split up back in 2013 did not return for the reunion in 2022, but yeah, he's a lot of fun in the kit. I also like the production, handled by Scott A. Siegel and Corey Batista. Really good organic feel to it. I do feel like things can be a little bit overlaid, especially in terms of the vocal mixing, but I don't hate it. I think it's got a good, like, again, a good organic vibe for the most part. I quite like the lyrics. They're quite personal and deal a lot with the band's dates on their reunion, and it's a really good and solid thing to write about. I think there's songs about how some of them are married and fathers now, which is a really good, like, bit of real life to work in. And I do quite like the structuring. I do think it noodles enough with what it has, and I did want a few songs to be maybe a bit longer, because this has 11 songs and it's only 31 minutes 34 seconds long, so I did want maybe a bit more fleshing out on certain tracks, but it's got this quite simple approach and a nice flow, and it mixes things up enough that I actually do quite enjoy the pacing. I just wish more was done with it. But yeah, for my first Woe Is Me album, I think two things. First of all, I think it was a good place for me to start getting into them, and more importantly, a really good place for them to return, even though, again, this was my first album by them. I think they don't really show many signs of rust, and it's just nice to hear a band sort of back to what they do. The next is favourite song and favourite album cover. Favourite song is between two. It's between Violence from Ritual Decay by Low Heaven and Best Laid Plans from Straight Line Was a Lie by the Beths. I like both songs a lot, but because I think it's the stronger song and also the actual closer, because I think Violence should have been the closer of Low Heaven's album, I'm going to go with Best Laid Plans by the Beths, although the actual closer of Low Heaven's album is really good. Violence is like the song one before it is also great. You know, they might be a tight spot, but if I had to pick, like, gun to my head, probably Best Laid Plans. Favourite album cover goes to The Hives with The Hives Forever, Forever the Hives, because they're just there dressed in king costumes, and it's really bloody funny. It's way funnier than it has any right to be. So, you know, like, obviously there were better drawn and better looking album covers. I think all the album covers are actually a lot better than that one, but that one made me laugh the most. And that'll be it from me. I'm not going to go over albums for next week's listening list because I haven't arranged my stuff for September yet, so I should get to that on the fucking double, mates. But yeah, next thing you'll see me for will likely be for more PPW vs AVW tomorrow night, and potentially the ending of me playing Yakuza Like a Dragon over the weekend. I am so close to finishing the game, I can feel it in my bones. So I'll see you all for that. Eventually, hopefully, I don't know when. As always, thank you for watching, you're awesome. Bye bye.